Folks, welcome to the culture and welcome to the culture's Black Men Summit, where we're going to be talking about it all week long on how we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood. And today, we wanted to kick off the conversation the best way that we could. And the only way to do that is to first talk about our connection to our Creator, to our God, our sense of spirituality. Now, this comes on the day of the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March. It was October 16th, 1995, 28 years ago, where over 2 million or nearly 2 million Black men convened on the Great Mall on Washington. That call was due to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but he wasn't by himself. It was a call that was made through him, but it was a call that also brought in so many different folks, different leaders, both men and women, communities together for a historic demonstration. So as we have this conversation, we want to look at the principles that were laid out 28 years ago, the principles of atonement, the principle of reconciliation, and the principle of responsibility, and use that as the guiding force for this conversation, and let this conversation set the tone for this week's conversation about Black men. But before we get into our very special guest, let's go back to the sights and to the sounds of that historic day of October 16th, 1995 in Washington, D.C.
To affirm the positive among us. This is the day that the Lord hath made, and we're called to celebrate what God has done, what God is doing, and what God will do. Long live the spirit of the Million Man March.
And this isn't about Farrakhan. This is about respect, unity, and love for the brothers. And we're trying to get something out of this, out of life. We're tired of being behind everything. We want to be in charge sometime. We want to unify, and that's what this is about, unity. Look at all these brothers around here.
We need to do it and show the government, hey, that we need to have control of our destiny.
We're choosing who our leaders are in the Black community, and we're not just going to accept anything anymore. We're going to come together. We're going to register people to vote and go back to our community, go back to my neighborhood, register my friends and stuff to vote, and we'll take it from there.
He's doing something.
We are the problem solvers, that we love each other, and that nothing will ever turn us around. God bless you.
Strong men keep on a-coming. Strong Black men keep on a-coming. Strong Black men just keep on a-coming. We love you.
That was the historic day that changed America and all of us. So now let us bring in our very special guest for this conversation as we talk about Black men in faith and spirituality. I am joined by three dynamic brothers who are doing their work to change the culture and the conversation about us being in faith and spirituality. First and foremost, I have my big brother. He is a brother that's been on the ground for years. He has done so much for the community, and more importantly, he continues to be a light in the great city of Baltimore. We are so happy to have him joining us. He serves as the Baltimore representative for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the student minister and imam. Our big brother, Brother Imam Abdul Salam, is joining us. Brother Imam, assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much, dear brother, for joining us for this summit.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you for having me on this great platform. And as you know, all of us from Baltimore and really throughout the nation are very proud of you in your growth and development. And we thank Brother Roland for giving you such an opportunity to serve our people on such a great level. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. My other big brother is a brother who is certainly no stranger to the work that he's doing in terms of elevating Black men. This is my brother, man. Every time I see him, he shows me nothing but love. When he started his work in Baltimore, and then he transitioned to fill in the role of being the senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church down there in Lithonia, Georgia. My big brother, Pastor Jamal Bryant. Pastor Bryant, good afternoon, dear brother. How are you, sir? We got the pastor on. Looks like we're going to have to get the pastor. Let's get the pastor connected very quickly. And then while we're doing that, let's introduce our other brother who I had a chance to just talk to just a few weeks ago. And after talking to him, I was just blown away about what he has done, the stance that he makes, and more importantly, the work that he is doing. So he's another brother from the great city of Baltimore. I'm so happy to have him joining us today, my big brother, Brother Zentola. Brother Zentola, peace and blessings, brother. How you feeling?
Thank you. I'm feeling good. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for joining us for this summit and having this conversation, bro.
Yes, it's a must. You know, it's time to unlock it.
Absolutely. Let me see. Let me know when, and I'm saying this to my team. Let me know when we get Pastor Bryant joining us in a moment. But Brother Minister, let's talk first about what we saw. You know, I just played the little quick clip of that historic day, October 16th, 1995. I was 16 years old. You were a young man back then. We were trying to do our thing, you know, trying to help in this great call of atonement, reconciliation, responsibility. I remember being in high school, Brother Minister, and telling my friends, trying to organize my friends around. It's like, yo, y'all going to the march, let's go together, let's jump on the bus, blah, blah, blah. And Arrow, my friends, is like, bro, you're gonna get yourself killed out there, right? But when I came back, I'll never forget, the response was overwhelming because so many of them was like, bro, I watched it on television. My people in my family went, and it was a magnificent day. But even more so just the day, I want to get down to the principles behind the march. Because this was a very different march. This wasn't a march about politics. This wasn't a march about social justice. This is a very different march. Talk to us about this principle of atonement, reconciliation, responsibility, and more importantly, how do we get back to that place?
Yes, sir. Well, of course, we can't start unless we talk about how God inspired the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in a moment of inspiration where the words that he wanted to take 1 million Black men to Washington, D.C. went out of his mouth. And the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said that he wished he could have pulled it back, but God inspired it. And so on October the 16th, 1995, we saw nearly 2 million Black men show up on the mall in Washington, D.C. under the theme Atonement, Reconciliation, and Responsibility. Because the Honorable Minister Farrakhan pointed out to us that after 440 years at that time of brokenness and through our journey here in America, while receiving the most unjustifiable treatment in the annals of history, we as Black men needed to atone with God, atone with self, atone with our family, and atone with each other as a people, and then take responsibility for our future into our own hands. So from that, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us the great 8 steps of atonement. And any of you that would Google 8 steps of atonement from the Million Man March will see the process by which we can take to heal our families, our communities, and our nation.
And Brother Zentola, when we talk about this mass gathering of Black men, I remember being on the mall and Brother Minister, I know you can probably attest to this as well. The energy in the space was like and I'm not saying it's just to hype it up. Literally, you can feel God's presence. And I'm gonna just say it just like that. You can feel, like, as much as people talked about the fact that you're in the belly of the beast. The government is watching. I remember Clinton was out. Everybody, a lot of those major government leaders left this Capitol. I remember seeing tanks along the perimeter of the space. There were flying airplanes just in case, watching. Everybody was watching to see what happened. But I never felt more at peace in an outside demonstration like I did at the Million Man March. People were saying, we're gonna get, I said, Ray, if you went, you know that nobody was going to touch us. There was a covering on that. So let's talk a little bit about the energy of being called or coming back to a space of atonement and reconciliation. Brother Zentolo, talk to us, like, you do energy work. How important is it that we have a massive call like that? Talk to me.
Well, it's very important because a lot of times we don't understand that our attention is our currency. And so whatever we're directing our attention toward with an intention will start to manifest. We've just been tricked into giving away our attention and creating things in which we don't want by different environmental stimuli and different patterns. And so when all of these men got together under this one intention of atonement, of all of these great things, yes, the energy is going to be immense, and you're going to even call forth your higher selves. So it's like it's going to be a whole different frequency, a whole different vibration. A lot of times we think because we can't see it in the physical that it's not there. But we have radio waves that has many stations that's floating through the air right now that you can't see. And depending on yourself, you can tune into those different frequencies depending on your intention. And so, yes, when you bring that many men, black men, together with that melanin and that intention, yes, gonna bring forth a higher energy in which you can physically see beyond your logical understanding. Yeah,
absolutely. Look, we got to take a quick pause, Brother Minister, Brother Zentolo. We're going to take a pause. When we come forward, hopefully we can bring our Pastor Jamal Bryant, into this conversation as well. And crew, I would love to hear your take on this as we're talking about black men in spirituality, black men in faith, as we are talking about the 28th anniversary of the Million Man March, but more importantly, talking about how do we get back on track with ourselves and our creators, especially during this time. The conversation will continue on the other side. Stay with us. It's the Culture's Black Men Summit here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, We're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome to the Culture's Black Men Summit, where we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. I've been talking to my brothers as this is the kickoff conversation as we talk about Black men in faith and spirituality. There's no other conversation that can happen until we have this one. So this is why we've decided to have this first to set the tone for this week's set of conversations. And so I've been joined by brother student minister and imam, brother Abdul Salam, who serves as the Baltimore representative for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and also joined by my brother who is a meditational spiritual healer and author, brother Zen Tola. We're just having the start of a dynamic conversation. Brother Minister, I want to get your take on what brother Zen Tola was just pointing out, which he says, setting your intention. And I know that in the Muslim prayer service, before you even go through the steps, the first thing you do when you step on that rug is set your intention, is to say to the Almighty God what you plan to do and how you plan to do it. Are we looking at a situation in Black America, especially among Black men, that we don't know our intention because of all of these other issues that are happening? Like, how did we get to that place of we're going to set our intention? Because we saw it in 1995. Mm-hmm. We saw it in those, subsequent marches. We saw it at the 20th anniversary for the Justice of the Million Man March at the Justice of Else. Some people would say, oh, we need another march. Some people say we need a different leader. But how do we get the intention back to Black America, to Black men, so that way we don't have to wait for some outside force, that we can call from that force from within?
Well, first and foremost, in order to state an intention, we have to be called to something. So in Islam, we are called to prayer by statements that are telling us that it's time to pray in that instance. So once we answer the call, then we go ahead and formally state the intention to perform what we have been called to. And this is because though we make good intentions a lot of times in our life journey, there are forces that can distract us. There are forces that can cause us to have a good intention, but fail in fulfilling the intention of what either we spoke, thought, or desired to do from the heart. But this is the beauty of how God operates best through divine servants. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan made a call, but it was the Spirit of God that moved from that call that Black men answered to. And therefore, by answering the call, by showing up or watching on that day, they were able to reestablish the intention for which they were called to, even if they didn't understand what was going to be said. But by the end of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan's message, he caused us to see that it was important for us because we desired to want to do something, to join a Black organization that was serving our people, to join a spiritual house, whether it is the church, whether it is Islam or some faith tradition that could feed our souls and feed our minds, and then get involved in some format of community struggle by joining on to those that were already working. So in 2023, going into 2024, There are a lot of distractions going on today, just as it was in 1995. But I believe that the essence of Black people in general, being the people of God, when that proper call comes, no matter what time it comes, our soul resonates with that call and are attracted to it. And so now, from the spirit of the march, it can live on from those that attended and know the values of what it did for them in their lives.
Brother Minister, I love that comment and that response. I'm gonna go back to you then, Brother Zentola. I want to bring this to you. In order for you to get into that space, you have to have a heart. I remember the minister, and there's a clip of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan saying this, Brother Minister and Brother Zentola. He said, I was given the call for this march, but if I was a hater, if I was a man that did not want to see the best for all of humanity, not just for Black people, then how would you justify the response that you saw in 1995 if I didn't have the heart to make the call? And I think that's where it is. It's like now we're at a place right now, Brother Minister, like a lot of the challenges that are facing Black men in Black America, but more importantly, Black men, it gets down to the very heart of who we are. It takes away our sense of emotion. As our sister Dr. Bridget talked about, it takes away our sense of humanity. Something that Islam has often been seen as, and I know you heard it and I've heard it all my life, that when Black men come into the ranks of the Nation of Islam, that it warms the heart again because we've been made so cold. Talk to us about that process of even falling in love with yourself again after being conditioned and told that you are nobody and that you have no power.
Well, I can say that the beauty of seeing the example in the fulfillment of what the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have done for so many Black men, specifically, but in general, Black men and women and families across America and throughout the world, that when I saw the example of the teaching, not knowing what it would do for me, once I got around that energy, as my beautiful brother talked about, when your heart and your soul is reaching for God, even though you may be limited in knowledge, it's reaching. And the Nation of Islam was magnetic to Malcolm X. It was magnetic to Muhammad Ali. It was magnetic to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in their day. And in our day, it was still magnetic from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan rebuilding this work. And so a young teenager like myself and tens of thousands of others were attracted to something that was already moving. And when you enter into a unit that is already operating and that unit embraces you, the brotherhood embraced me with love. And you can't beat that because perfect love casts out fear. And so if we say God is love, how do we know unless it's being manifested in those that have his spirit? And so Black organizations that have also benefited in that way have understood the qualifying reality of what Minister Farrakhan taught me and teaches me as a student. And that is the basis of unity. That is the basis of a common goal. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity would solve 95% of our problems. And his minister has caused us to see and understand from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his teacher, that our unity is more powerful than any type of atomic or nuclear bomb. So we just got to get busy on living what we say, and we will attract and be magnetic to the people that need that saving grace, power, love, and unity.
Brother Zentola, I want to get your take on this. And I got word that Pastor Bryant is now technically ready. So I want to take a few extra minutes to get his take as well, because we only have limited time with him. But Brother Zentola, what's your take of that in terms of the heart, cultivating the heart, so that way you can hear the call to set the intention?
Yes, it's very important. A lot of times, like what my brother just said, unity is very much needed. But before we can have unity, we must first find ourselves. We must first heal the inner things that we have been going through or going through turmoil with. And so, yes, unity is like, think about it like this. When you have traumas, let's look at the traumas like let's look at them like thorns that are in you. All right. And so even when you go to hug someone else, that can cause you pain. And it's not that this person is trying to cause you pain. It's because those traumas sitting on the surface, even when it's a good act or a nice act, it could still cause you pain. And so the other way I also explain traumas is think about hands that has been worn so much that they get callous. The callus is built up on the hands to protect the hands from keep getting abrasions. And so this is how not being healed, where you can't feel. See, once you start healing those callus will start going down, and then you can feel and find your sensation of way when you touch something, you can actually feel it. And so once we're at a place where we can pour into ourselves and we know how to tap into higher vibrations from there and understanding who we are and finding ourselves, then we can now extend love to others. It's just like the cup, you can't pour from a cup that's not even full, that you don't even have anything yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. And so I think that a lot of things are important steps on the way there, but I think we're missing a few that we are tending to look over that's so much important, like finding ourselves, getting to who we are, and clearing the noise, getting to a silent place. And so from there, we can build relationship with self, God from within, and then we can extend outwardly. And I think that's what is pretty much missing, and the power of words. It's so many different things. So when I say this in mind, bringing up, like, let's say, integrating into the kids, the seeds. If we want to get to the bottom of it, we have to, of course, find ourselves, but we have to integrate into the seeds. We have to teach them who they are earlier, because it's not that we aren't who we are, is that we have been tricked and conditioned into not knowing who we are. It's just like the lions in the zoo, and there's one man is controlling all of these lions. It's because they don't know that they're lions. They have been conditioned to think that they are kittens. And I think that's the same with us. We have been conditioned into not knowing our power, not knowing how to access our power, and putting everything outside of ourselves. And so now we put in this responsibility on our alignment and our spiritual alignment on everyone else, and we are lacking the relationship with the words, the vibration, and the thoughts that we need to align with that energy. And from there, it'll guide you. That's why I can never tell no one what to do. I only would say, let's get into a quiet space and let's get in an alignment where you will then know what to do. And so it's the tools. It's just like a cell phone, right? So if you notice how we have to have updates with our cell phone, what happens if you don't update your cell phone? It'll start glitching. This is what anxieties is happening. We're not upgrading to new understandings and practices of who we are as energy first, and then letting everything else align. And that's what's out of whack. We putting all of this outside of us, and we're not in alignment. That's what it is.
I want to bring in our brother, Pastor Jamal Bryant, the senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church down in Georgia. I know he had some sound issues, but he got a few moments just to be with us. Pastor Bryant, as you're hearing about this, as we're talking about Black men kind of coming back into ourselves spiritually and through our faith, what kind of guidance would you offer as a man that's been doing this work for well over 20 years and seeing all of the Black men going through all of the changes that we have gone through in this country?
Farajii, let me first say thank you for having me on. And I'm
yes, sir.
I'm kind of glad the sound went out for a minute for me to get myself together. Let me say this has nothing to do with what you asking me, but this moment is great for me to see you and Brother Carlos together. I've not seen both of you in years, and my heart is doing somersaults. I'm serious. We came up through the ranks together and really grew as men and grew as leaders together. And while I was disconnected from the broadcast, I'm thinking about how life would have been different if I'm still in Baltimore right now. Me and Carlos will be planning tonight's citywide town hall meeting about the Gaza Strip and what to do about Palestine. and inviting the Jews from Parkite to come be in the discussion. You know what I mean? I miss all of that. I don't hear that level of camaraderie to do that in Atlanta. But we will be broadcasting this live from Empowerment Temple right now if I was in Baltimore. But I just wanted to say, really, I don't even know what the question is, Farajii.
Right, it's all good.
I wanted to, seriously, I miss my brothers. I love y'all. I done left Atlanta and left Baltimore, and now Farajii is looking like Jesus. Something has happened. I don't know what has happened. What is your question, Farajii? I'm sorry.
Oh man, look, Pastor, very quickly, because I know you got to hop off. You got another appointment, but I'm pushing. I'm begging my producers to give me just the time. But I want to get your take on, cultivating the heart of Black men. Minister Carlos, Brother Abdullah Salam, and Brother Zentola both talked about the fact that Black men, we have been hardened over the years. And as a man that's in this faith, that's doing this work to soften the heart of Black men, how did we get to that place, considering it has caused tremendous pain and damage to our community when we're continuing to work from this space of Black men have to be stoic, or Black men can't emote emotions, or Black men aren't spiritual men, that we cannot exhibit God in a very loving and nurturing way. So what's your take on that, Brother Pastor?
Yeah, so I'm mindful that we're really coming from different perspectives. Student Minister Carlos and our dear brother dealing with the physiology and the psychology. I want to deal with from a different level, especially in light of what we're dealing with. The significance of a Muslim leader calling Christian pastors into accountability, for me, is what the Million Man March really resonated with. And it really set the tone, not just for the states, but for the diaspora, to show that there was a way that we could coexist, how it is that we can function. Is that a lot of people are dealing with the Muslims and the Jews in Gaza, and they forget the persecution of Palestinian Christians. And I think that how it is that we function, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan gave us the blueprint, is that we find what is our commonality even in our diversity. And so the strength of the beauty of who it is that we are is knowing that we are not a myopic people, but that there are so many different dimensions of who it is that we are, that we embrace the beauty and the splendor of our difference, in knowing that some of us are vegetarian and some of us eating bacon. Some of us are only listening to gospel, and some of us listening to trap music. But in the words of Malcolm X, when the police pull you over, they're not asking you, are you Dr. So-and-so? Are you Reverend so-and-so? They just see you as nigger so-and-so. And so when we find out that the real common denominator is so much stronger than anything that divides us, we understand the significance of this moment. And so while Black people are crying out about what's going on in Israel, as we should, we can't do that, Farajii, and not say nothing about the Congo. We can't raise that up and not say nothing about what's happening in Haiti. If $37 billion is getting ready to go to Israel and nothing is going for the infrastructure for the mother continent, then it is our responsibilities. Nobody is asking Jewish people to remember Israel. They're saying, lest we forget. And so I think that we've got that same responsibility as Black men to hold up what is our Ebenezer and what is our standard and what is significant for us. Roland Martin, the curator of this network, said that we got to be clear, what is the ask? We got to stop being honored just to be there without a demand. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And so I think that our Black men have got to come together and say, what are we clearly asking for? And at this point, we ain't asking for nothing. We're demanding to be treated as human beings, demanding access to capital, demanding that our public schools have exemplary technology, demanding that Morgan State University gets the same funding University of Maryland does. And so I think that that's the stance that men have to do in this post Million Man March reality.
There it is. Pastor Jamal Bryant, the great senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, checking in. Pastor Bryant, we thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you, dear brother, for the work that you're doing. I got to bring you back because I believe you're opening up a medical center for your church. Is that correct? I saw the video of that.
Yes.
You were walking through the hallways of that.
Yes, we open on November 11th. It is a full medical clinic that will be able to screen people, test people, prescribe people, not only for those who are insured, but Farajii for those who are underinsured and for those who are on Medicaid. We break ground in 3 months on 150 mini houses so that we can reintroduce our community to home ownership and change the narrative. It's only Black people that have housewarming parties for apartments. So we got to change the whole narrative of what it is that we do in terms of home ownership and wealth creation. All of the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught for many years, we are now finally getting the understanding of the depth of his prophetic witness.
There it is, Pastor Jamal Bryant. We'll certainly be in support of that. And I'll reconnect with you, Pastor, so that way you could talk more about these initiatives on the other side. But I thank you, and we thank you so much, dear brother, for your time.
Tell the producers, me and Carlos got to talk about Israel. We need an hour to just talk about Israel. If you just give us 1 hour, we will shut it down.
Hey, look, if you want to talk about Israel and Palestine, let's go. Let's go. We can talk about it. We can set that up.
Give me 1 hour. That's all that I need, please.
Done.
I hold you to it. Thank you. Love y'all. Grace and peace.
Love you too. Thank you, Pastor. Brother Minister and Brother Zentola, we got to take a quick pause now. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation. Crew members, I want to get your thoughts about this as we are talking about Black men in faith and spirituality. Post your comments as we are streaming right now on YouTube on the Roland Martin's YouTube page. And of course, stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side with the Culture's Black Men Summit here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Cultures Black Men Summit. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been having a fantastic first discussion as we're talking about redefining and celebrating Black manhood. We're kicking off today's series with around the conversation about Black men in faith and spirituality. We just heard some remarks from Pastor Jamal Bryant, the senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church down in Georgia. We're still left with our dear brothers, our great special guest, the Baltimore representative for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, student minister, and Imam Abdul Salam. And we're also joined by spiritual and meditational healer and author, Brother Zentola, as well, as we're talking about this. Crew, y'all know what to do. Post your comments, share your thoughts as we're streaming live on YouTube right now under Roland Martin's YouTube page. Folks are checking in. My brother Tony D said, "I know that this will be one great show with both Imam Abdul Salam and Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant discussing the Israel and Hamas war." Brother Minister, looks like we're gonna have to bring you back, sir.
You already know. We come back with guidance and instructions and permission from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Absolutely. Let me check in with other folks because people are talking about this. My man, you don't like my music. You say culture changes people, not politics. This is why I love this show. And that's why we love you. You don't like my music. We love you. We appreciate you, man, for checking in. And I want to speak to that point because here's another part of this. There is a growing and changing dynamic, Brother Zentola and Brother Minister, that's happening among Black men, and particularly and Black folks in this country. Pew Research, they did this study back in 2021. And one of the things that they found is that first, Black people in America are the most religious group of people demographically than any other people in this country. This is from 2 years ago, folks. We're the most, this speaks volumes about where we are with this. But then the other thing, here's this other part about it. And at least let's go to quote one on this one, where they're talking about in this Pew Research study. It shows that the findings show that Black Americans are more religious than the American public as a whole on a range of measures of religious commitment. For example, they are more likely to say that they believe in God or a higher power and to report that they attend religious services regularly. They also are more likely to say religion is very important in their lives and to be affiliated with a religion and to believe prayers to ancestors have protective power and that evil spirits can cause problems in a person's life. Now, here's that part. This is from Pew Research. But then on the other side, Brother Minister and Brother Zentola, take a look at this. Let's go to quote number 2, that a Pew Research study confirms Black Americans, who are demographically the most religious in the country, are turning away from organized religion in large numbers. In 1 decade, 11% fewer Black people considered themselves Christians, and 7% more claim to be unaffiliated with any religion, or in some people's category, they would say they are more spiritual. Brother Zentola, talk to us. What is happening here right now? And then, Brother Minister, I'd love to get your take on this. What is happening where now you have more people say, I'm spiritual, not religious, making this distinction? And how does this play on how a Black man sees himself in relationship to his relationship with God and with the Creator?
Yes. So I believe that what's happening is religion, it has you like in a certain group, where spirituality, it kind of gives you the room to understand who you are and the connection with your Creator without some place or someone outside of you dictating you. What I believe, religion is like, think of religion like turning on the water. You can get water from the spigot and it's controlled, right? Spirituality is like tapping into a spring. You can't turn a spring off. And so once you tapped into that spring, You no longer can just like go inside of a box of just using the spigot water when you know that the spring is there. And so I think what's happening is with us able to share our understandings and everything with, you know, what we've been through as Black people in church and things like that, we understand that church is much needed, or religion is very much needed, but we're finding ourselves at a place where we are expanding beyond, like, say, a certain dynamic. So let's think of that like a first grade. You needed to know the information, you needed to learn about certain things, but now we're at a place of convergence, of integration. And so if you know these things that you've learned in these different books and these religions, and you're not converting them, you're not integrating these things into your life, well, then you don't get the change or the transformation. And so I believe that what's happening is people are more so opening their minds and their understanding on, like, what are they connected to and what is actually in alignment with them. And so we're tapping into a higher spaces than normal. And I think that it's all needed. I think, like I said, it's like grades. You have first grade, second grade, third, and it's like it keeps going. We're here to grow, we're here to expand. And so now you're seeing a convergence of not people turning away from God, but people receiving God from different things like music and sound bowls and meditations. And it even says even in the Bible, it said meditate day and night. So it's certain things that we've looked over that is actually helping, that were actually our tools to help us to integrate. And as we're shifting into higher vibrations, the earth is now shifting into higher vibrations. Knowing is now is no longer enough, you know? And so I say that spirituality, or like these mindful practices, whatever you want to put them under, energy, these are all these are the keys, right? And so I use the keys as an example, because I can give you a car, and if you didn't know what a car did, you would just try to push this car up the street and down the street. And if I ask you, how do you like the car I gave you, you say, well, it's kind of heavy, I have to push it around. Right. And then if I give you the keys to the car, now the same car that you thought you had to push around is now carrying you where you want to go and where you need to go. Now you'll have a totally different experience. I believe that's what's happening in life right now. We're going through life and we're thinking we're all having the same experience, but we're really not. Depending on if you have the keys or if you don't, your experience is going to be totally different. And so that's what we are realizing. We are tapping into ourselves and understanding the keys in which we can now manifest and attract things, opposed to being so physical about it. As a matter of fact, if you see something in the physical, this is the last stage to it manifesting. It started in the non-physical. Everything starts with energy, and we have the power to summon this energy into manifestations through our thoughts, words, and movements. And so if we are doing old thoughts, old words, and old movements, and we're seeing the same reality, this is why we haven't broken the pattern. And so I'm here to help people understand that we can break that pattern through mindful exercises and different spiritual practices that will bring us much closer. And then from there, you'll know what to do. That's where we are.
Brother Minister, we're going to take a quick pause, but when we come forward, I would love to get your take on this, as you know, as a minister in an organized setting, in an organized structure, and then as an imam, as you all know about the metaphysical and the importance of that. So we'd love to hear your take on this. Folks, we got to take a final quick pause. Stay with us. It's the Culture's Black Men Summit here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
All momentum we have now, We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to the Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Been talking to spiritual leaders, Brother Student Minister and Imam Abdul Salam, who serves as the Baltimore representative for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and our Brother Zentola, who is a spiritual and meditational healer. We are gathered to have this conversation on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March that happened 28 years ago today, folks, on October the 16th, 1995. And so we only saw fit to have this conversation kicking us off for this week of discussions around Black men and as we celebrate manhood. Brother Minister, I want to get your take on this piece from Pew Research and just this growing culture where we're finding a lot of our people. I hear it from a lot of sisters when you ask the sisters, like, you know, what church you go to, or where's your faith home? Oh, I'm more spiritual. I don't. And these are not, quote unquote, like sisters that are not professional. You're talking about very high professional women who are Black women who are stepping away from the church, which has been the backbone, we know, of our community. And Black women in faith has been the backbone of our community. But what are we seeing here, Brother Minister? And how do we make sure that Black men, as we're talking about these changes and transitions, as Brother Zentola talked about, how do we make sure that Black men don't get kind of lost in the shuffle and then our spirituality is not being fed and cultivated?
Well, I would first start by saying that there are a whole lot of polls taken about a whole lot of things, and especially about Black people and their experience in America. It's funny that people take polls and then we take the poll as the overall blanketing of as if it's true. But I would say this, that, Almighty God, as I'm taught from my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, did not come to establish a building. We're interested in buildings, mosques, church, synagogues, cloisters, temples. But if we ask the question, there are mega churches There are mosques on the planet that hold millions. In Mecca, hold 1 million people. In Medina, 750,000 people at one time for prayer. We have large edifices that hold tens of thousands of people. But the question becomes, can any of these buildings hold all the people? So it goes to show you what the scriptures teach us, that we are the true house of God. We are the real temples of God. And that's why the poll suggests that we are the most religious. I'm going to use spiritual because our spirituality comes from God himself. So teaches the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his minister Farrakhan. In fact, the reason why Black people seem to be so religious, it is because it is the nature in which we are created. We are created by the Creator to submit to do his will. However, in a society like this, there's a whole lot of distraction. So in Islam, we are taught the Prophet Muhammad, peace and prayers be upon him, said that the entire earth is our prayer carpet. The entire earth is our masjid or mosque. So it is in any religion, faith, tradition that follows the prophets of God. You don't need to be inside the actual house or place where you may worship or don't worship. As long as you know that there's a sanctified place that gives you the peace to talk to God. That could just be riding down the street in your car and getting to a traffic light and just saying, oh God, I love you. Please help me get through the rest of the day. That's how serious it is with Black people. But I close with this. It's interesting that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke to us on Saturday as he addressed the Nubian Leadership Circle. And he petitioned us to go back to the program that appears on the back page of the Final Call newspaper, every edition, and prior to that, the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. It is called the Muslim Program. Listen to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says about mental and spiritual resurrection that my brother was just attesting to. He says, we believe that the so-called Negroes or Black people are most in need of mental resurrection. Therefore, they will be resurrected first. Furthermore, we believe we are the people of God's choice. And it has been written that God would choose the rejected and the despised. We can find no other persons fitting this description in these days more than the so-called Negroes or Black people in America. We believe in the resurrection of the righteous. So this is showing us that the nature of us is God. We come from God. And no matter what has been done to us, you brought us through chattel slavery, you hung us, you lynched us, you unjustly imprisoned us in mass. But yet God is still in the jail cell. God is wherever we are, even on the street corner in the worst of our condition. When we, the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, through his minister, walk the most dangerous parts of our neighborhoods, guess what happens? The junkie looks up and sees the clean face of the FOI and says, Assalamu alaikum, my brother. Pardon me, excuse me. The brother that's drinking want to put his bottle down. The brother smoking his reefer or his joint want to hide it. What is that saying? He sees himself in the proper state. And we look at them with no judgment, because up underneath those conditions is absolutely the true essence and material manifestation of God. You don't have to be inside of a brick and mortar building to manifest God. You can do it right in the quietness of your own self. All you have to do is call his name. And he laughs and smiles and says, look at my servant calling my name. And he gives us relief in that. So no spiritual house that we build could ever hold all of God's people, because the real house of God is wherever God's people are.
On that note, Brother Minister and Brother Zentola, we're going to say thank you. We're going to say thank you. And I truly, truly appreciate that. And I think that that resonates with all of us that are tuned in today. I cannot thank both of you brothers enough for taking times out your schedules. And we thank Brother Pastor Jamal Bryant for joining us for a few moments. But Brother Minister and Brother Imam, thank you so much, sir, for your wisdom and your expertise. Brother Zentola, thank you so much. Brother Zentola, folks, y'all can follow Brother Zentola on social media, Zentola, Zentola. You can follow Zentola, excuse me. Thank you, brother, on social media. And we thank him. And he has a fantastic book out that he serves as the author of. And it's a journal, and it talks about mindfulness and talks about energy work. And it's Zenergy. I love this book. There it is right there. Zenergy Me Journal, the Manifest Energy Journal. So make sure y'all check that out. And of course, our brother Imam, we will have to bring him back to talk about other issues. But I just want to say thank you to both of you for joining us today here on The Culture for this first day of this Black Men Summit. And I thank you both for being so excellent, so great for The Culture. So thank you so much, brothers. We truly appreciate it.
And I got to connect with my brother. He's right here in the city. We got to do the work together. And I felt his beautiful energy right through the screen.
Yeah, there it is right there.
Brother. I appreciate
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Black men from Baltimore doing it big today. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much, brothers. We truly appreciate it. We want to thank our coverage partner, AfroLAnews.org. Go to AfroLAnews.org, folks, to get all the latest news about Black life in Los Angeles. This is a nonprofit organization that's putting out very, very thoughtful content about news and information that is happening in LA from a Black Los Angeles resident's perspective. So go to AfroLAnews.org. I want to also thank my partner, the Sister Olivia Alamangro, for making this broadcast and making the summit happen, along with my production team. I want to thank Joel and Shannon. I want to thank Maddie and Chris. I want to thank my sister Lisa and my man King Keenan for all of the work. And of course, the Culture Crew. Thank y'all so much for tuning in for the first day of this week of special conversations that we will be having about Black men and redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about Black men in politics. So that conversation should be a good one. But thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. Up next 6 p.m. is Roland Martin with RMU. As always, go to blackstarnetwork.com, download the app, follow us on social media, and give. Help us to power this movement in this digital space. But we truly, truly appreciate all of your support. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Peace.